news on Wednesday for Britain's Finance Minister Rachel Reeves after a market sell-off. British inflation slowed unexpectedly last month and core measures of growth, tracked by the Bank of England, fell more sharply. The annual rate of inflation edged down to 2.5% in December from 2.6% the month before. Economists polled by Reuters had mostly expected headline inflation to hold at November's figure. Inflation is expected to rise again, though, and Reeves said there was still work to be done. But investors increased their bets on the Bank of England cutting rates, putting an 82% chance on a first quarter-point reduction on February the 6th. 2 rate cuts for 2025 were almost fully priced into the market, up from around 60% chance before the data. British government bond yields dropped from multi-decade highs hit in previous days. Sterling fell after the figures were published, but then reversed course and rose slightly in morning trade. The Bank of England has said Britain's persistent inflation pressures means it will move only gradually with reducing borrowing costs. That's despite signs that the economy is losing momentum. Underlying measures of price growth also slowed by more than expected last month. Core inflation, which excludes energy, food, alcohol and tobacco prices, fell to 3.2% from November's 3.5%. Services inflation also dropped to 4.4% in December, its lowest since March 2022.
Shares of Eli Lilly tumbled as much as 8% on Tuesday after the company forecast weaker than expected fourth-quarter sales of its weight loss drug, Zepbound. The decline put the stock on track for its worst single-day drop in nearly 4 years. The weak forecast also marks the second quarter in a row that sales of Zepbound, as well as Lilly's related diabetes drug, Mounjaro, have fallen short of estimates. Lilly's stock went on a tear in the beginning of 2023 as investors bet on the popularity of Zepbound, with shares more than doubling through mid-2024. But by October, shares had tumbled after Zepbound sales disappointed. Lilly blamed physical and financial constraints at wholesalers for both drugs slowing sales. The stock has been subdued since. U.S. stocks ended mixed on Tuesday as investors gauged the latest inflation data and braced for quarterly earnings reports to justify high stock valuations. The Dow added 0.5%, the S&P 500 ticked up slightly, but the Nasdaq slid nearly 0.25%. A Labor Department report out Tuesday showed the Producer Price Index, which measures wholesale inflation, rose less than expected in December. That gave stocks an early boost, but investors' optimism soon faded, explains Brian Crowes, president and lead portfolio manager at Scharf Investments.
Stocks today were a little volatile. You had some good news on the PPI data that heartened investors, but you also had news from Lilly, which was disappointing. That stock was down pretty big. And you also just had some ongoing concerns about Trump tariffs and interest rates, which has also been weighing on the markets.
The yield on the benchmark 10-year Treasury note at more than 4.7% held near a 14-month high reached Monday. Quarterly earnings kick off Wednesday with results from big banks, which are expected to post stronger profits fueled by robust deal-making and trading. Shares of Goldman Sachs gained 1.5% ahead of its results on Wednesday. In other stock moves, shares of Eli Lilly tumbled more than 6.5% after it forecast fourth-quarter sales of weight loss drug Zepbound below estimates. And shares of Boeing shed 2% after the plane maker reported that its annual deliveries dropped in 2024 to their lowest level since the pandemic. Wednesday also brings more inflation data with the Consumer Price Index reading, which will further shape expectations for the Federal Reserve's next policy moves.